There's a version of your life they keep describing that is genuinely beautiful. The house you'll have, the trip you'll finally take, the wedding someday, the way things will be once this hard stretch passes. You can picture it so clearly. The only strange thing is that somehow it's always someday, and you've been living in someday for a very long time. That's future faking, buying your loyalty in the present with a beautiful future they have no intention of delivering. Today I'll show you how it works, why it's so effective on good, patient, hopeful people, and how to start valuing what someone actually does over what they endlessly promise. The careful note first, making plans and dreaming together is a normal, healthy part of loving someone. Not every unkept plan is a manipulation. Life gets in the way, and good people postpone things. As always, we're watching a pattern, not diagnosing a person. What we're naming is the specific move of using the promise itself as a tool over and over with no follow-through. Here's the idea. Most of us treat a promise as a kind of currency. When someone tells us what they'll do, we adjust our behavior, now based on it. We stay, we invest, we forgive, we wait. A person who future fakes has learned they can pay for your present patience with a promise that costs them nothing because they never intend to keep it. The vision isn't a plan, it's a payment, and it works especially well on people who are loyal, hopeful, and willing to wait for someone they love, which is to say, it preys on some of your best qualities, not your worst. So here's the one thing I want you to carry out of this video. A promise is not a plan, and a plan is not a fact. What someone consistently does is the only reliable information about who they are. The future they describe is just a story until it shows up in their actions. Let me name how it tends to sound because it's often lovely. Sometimes it's the grand vision, the shared future painted in vivid color, the life you'll build, dropped in right when you're wavering, precisely because it works to keep you invested. Sometimes it's the promised change. I'm going to get help. Things will be different after the move. Once work calms down, I'll be present. The reform that stays permanently on the horizon, always one milestone away. Sometimes it's the reward that never lands, the trip you're working toward, the recognition that's coming, the "we'll celebrate you soon," dangled to keep you giving, cashed in never. And here's the cruelest feature. When the future doesn't arrive, it's somehow your fault or the world's. The timing was bad. The money got tight. You pushed too hard. The promise gets quietly recycled, moved to a new someday, and you're asked to wait again. So how do you protect yourself without becoming cynical about every good thing? The first move, watch the feet, not the mouth. This is the whole tool in one line. Words are cheap and infinitely renewable. Actions cost something. So quietly shift your attention from what someone says they'll do to what they actually repeatedly do. Not one gesture, the pattern. A person's real intentions live in their behavior over time, and behavior doesn't lie the way promises can. The second move, notice the gap and start keeping a private, honest tally. Not to build a case against anyone, just for your own clarity. How many times has this exact promise been made? How many times has it arrived? You're not being unfair by noticing a pattern. You're being accurate. If the vision has been described 20 times and delivered 0, that ratio is telling you something the beautiful words are designed to make you overlook. The third move, make the present pay its own way. You're allowed to gently, quietly stop making today's decisions based on a promise tomorrow. This doesn't require a confrontation or an ultimatum. It's an internal shift. I will value this relationship for what it actually is right now, today, not for the brochure of what it's supposed to become. If the present, on its own, isn't enough, that's real information. And it's information the golden future is specifically designed to keep you from feeling. Now, the honest, gentle part. If you've been future faked, please don't turn the blame on yourself for having believed it. Believing the people you love, taking them at their word, being willing to wait and invest, those aren't stupidities. They're the exact ingredients of every good relationship you'll ever have. The problem was never your hope. It was that your hope was being spent by someone who knew they weren't going to make good on it. Keep the hope. Just start attaching it to evidence and notice the pattern. Anyone can fail to deliver on a plan now and then, but someone who reliably purchases your patience with visions they never intend to fund is showing you how they operate. And that's worth seeing clearly without waiting for one more someday to prove it. Here's the close, same as always. This is education, not therapy, and not a diagnosis of anyone. If you're staying in a situation that's harming you on the strength of promises that never arrive, that's worth talking through with real support, not just a video. For immediate emotional crisis, call or text 988. For domestic violence support, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Text START to 88788 or visit thehotline.org. So the next time the beautiful someday gets painted for you right as you're wavering, enjoy the picture if you like, but keep your decisions rooted in what's actually here. Watch the feet, not the mouth. The future they describe is only real when it shows up in what they do. Next video, we'll step back and put the whole toolkit together, how these tactics tend to run as a cycle, and how to trust the quiet signal your own body keeps sending long before your mind can name what's wrong. Subscribe so it's there when you need it.